The lesson today shall be looking at matter. What is matter? Matter is anything that has weight and takes up space. Okay, the air you breathe in is matter. Your book is matter. Your table is matter. Everything in this universe is made up of what? Matter. Okay, matters are made up of particles that are very small. These particles, you can't see them. Okay, we call these particles what? Atom. What do you call them? Atom. So you can say an atom, a matter is anything that is made up of small particles called atom. Or we say atom are the small particles that make up matter. All right? I'm going to look at three states of matter, which are solid, liquid, and gas. And then we take a short look at another fourth state of matter we call plasma. Say plasma. Plasma. Pay attention to the three states of matter.
The three states of matter are solid, liquid, and gas. Let us look at solids. An example of a solid is your computer. The properties of solids depend on how the particles in solids are packed. In a solid, the particles are closely packed in fixed positions and cannot move anywhere. So, solids are rigid, cannot be squashed or compressed, have a fixed shape and a fixed volume. They cannot flow. Now let us look at liquids. An example of a liquid is water. Just as with solids, the properties of liquids depend on how the particles in liquids are packed. In a liquid, the particles are again closely packed, but not as closely packed as in solids. So this means the particles in liquids can move around each other. So, liquids are not rigid, but because their particles are closely packed as in solids, they cannot be squashed or compressed. They do not have a fixed shape, but they do have a fixed volume. Beware with that one, as many students think because liquids do not have a fixed shape, they do not have a fixed volume either, but they are wrong. If someone orders a pint of beer, they cannot make it 2 pints by pouring it into different containers. As you know, liquids can flow. Finally, let us look at gases. An example of a gas is helium. This is the gas in party balloons because it is less dense than air and unreactive. Again, as with solids and liquids, the properties of gases depend on how the particles in gases are packed. Unlike solids and liquids, the particles in gases are not closely packed. They're far apart. As a result, gases are not rigid and can be squashed or compressed. They do not have a fixed shape nor fixed volume. They fill the whole space they are in.
In summary, what we are saying is a solid is rigid. Okay, the atoms are packed together. Solid has a fixed shape and solid has a fixed size or volume. While liquid, the particles are a bit separated from each other. Is it not? Yes. It does not have a fixed shape. It takes the shape of its what? Container, but it has a fixed size. Gas does not have a fixed shape. It does not have a fixed volume, and it occupies any space. There's a fourth state of matter called plasma. Now, what is plasma? Plasma, you can define it as a hot matter. You can think of plasma as a hot matter. Example is the sun. Okay? Watch this video to learn more about matter.
Do you know what water, air, and rocks all have in common? They are made of matter. Matter is something that takes up space. Now, you might be wondering why they all look so different if they are made of the same thing. But the truth is that everything around you is made of matter, just in different shapes and forms. Matter is made of tiny particles called atoms. Matter can be grouped into 3 main states: solid, liquid, or gas. To figure out which state of matter something is in, we need to examine its properties. A property is the way that something is that we can measure. The physical properties we will look at to determine state of matter are shape, mass, and volume. Mass is the amount of matter in an object. Volume is how much space that matter takes up. Solids are easy to recognize. Rocks, apples, pencils, and plants are all examples of solid objects. A solid object has a definite shape that doesn't change when you move it or put it in a container. They also have a consistent mass and volume. This is because the atoms in a solid object are packed closely together, so they do not move around. A solid will change shape only if forced, for instance, if it is broken or smashed. If you look around, you can find many examples of solid objects. Liquid is the next state of matter. Liquids have a definite volume and mass, but they do not have a definite shape. The atoms in liquid are still close together, but unlike the atoms in a solid, they can move around. This allows the matter in a liquid to flow. Because liquids don't have their own shape, they take their shape from their containers. The same amount of liquid may look very different in a glass and spilled on the floor. You can find examples of liquids around you too. Water, milk, and juice are just some of the liquids you might find. The third state of matter is gas. Gases have a definite mass, but they do not have a definite shape or volume. Like liquids, gases take the shape of their containers. Unlike liquids, gases will spread out to completely fill the container they are in. If a gas is not in a container, it will keep spreading out indefinitely. This is because the atoms in a gas are farther apart than atoms in a solid or a liquid, and so they can move freely. The air you breathe is an example of a gas. You might have noticed that you can't really see air. Often, gases are invisible, but they are still there. There are many different types of gases in the Earth's atmosphere, like oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, helium, and water vapor.
I believe you now know that matter exists in 3 states. You now know the properties of the 3 states, and then you now know the 4th state of matter called plasma. Is it not? And you also know examples of the 3 states of matter and plasma. That now brings us to the end of lesson. I'll see you in class.